Welcome, crafty sew-and-sewers. So today we're going to make a covered notebook. Now the first thing you want, I've made mine out of what I would suggest is a reasonable size A5 book. I bought a set of these hardcover books from what's it called, Hobbycraft, but you can get soft covers ones from any supermarket. And I'm doing it really with the ring binder effect type book in mind. Now you need to measure your book while it's closed, because that's where most of the that's when it's at its tautest. When it's open, it's a bit more loose. So no, measure it while it's closed, and measure from, leave your tape measure hanging out about a quarter of an inch, and then go right way round the back of the book into the front, and then add on an extra ½ inch to that measurement as well, so that you've got your ½ inch gives you your quarter inch seam measurements, plus that quarter inch gives you a little bit of play, because when we stitch these together, we want them to fit snugly, but we want to be able to get the book into it, don't we? Right, and then measuring from top to bottom, again you want to measure it, add in that ½ inch for the seams, and then add another quarter of an inch just for ease. So those are your measurements. You're also going to need a piece of batting, an ordinary bit of polyester batting, or you could use felt, I suppose, but something that gives you a little bit of softness to make this a nicely covered book. Now you need to cut that much larger, and as you'll see as the video goes on, I say to you, right, let's cut a piece that is much bigger than what we need to start with, and we'll attach that to the batting, do our little bit of top cover stitching to adhere the batting to the front of material, and then we can start to cut it to the size that we need. You can hear my measurements as I go on in the video, but that's what I would suggest for an A5 type of book. The inside, we've got two pieces of fabric which are folded over, and I have measured those at 8 inches wide, folded over to make 4, and they just need to be long enough to cover the overlapping the edges of the book quite significantly. So 2 of those, and then the inside lining piece needs to be 8.5 inches wide, and we're going to do 2 quarter inch turn unders on the raw sides of those, and that needs to be again longer than the actual book. Okay, so inch or so longer than the actual book, because that's going to cut down to size. Your piece of ribbon, well, you can judge for yourself. It's just got to be long enough really to either be just inside the book or just hang down outside the book. So you can see my ribbon as I show you later on. And that's really all you need. So let's get going. Alright then, so I've just cut a piece of fabric from, must leave bending down, and I've just cut a larger piece of normal polyester batting to go around it. It's larger, okay? I'll tell you the sizes of it as we go. But basically now, my job, I'll go to the sewing machine, and first off I'll do a running stitch all the way around the outside at probably at 3, alright, size 3, and then I'm going to start to I'm going to free motion some quilting on here. Now you needn't do that, you could use a ruler and do some diagonal 2-inch apart lines with a Traco pen or friction, and then the other direction, so you've got a quilted triangle, diamond effect, yeah? Or if you have rulers at home, because I know quite a few of you do, this is the time where you could say, I might use my ruler and do some ruler work on it, which is fine, that's up to you. But bear in mind, if I turn this around the right way, this right hand side to you is the front, because it's a book cover. Okay, so just bear that in mind in whatever your designated nice smart things are going to be. We are going to put some things on top of this, but that'll go on after we've done a bit of quilting. So doesn't have to be a lot. You could do 2-inch straight lines, just up and down, 2-inch straight lines. You just want this to get attached to the back in some way. All right, nothing troublesome about that. Be creative as you like. Little squiggle around here. I'll probably to this one. Right, when I get to this one, a bit awkward because he's on the edge of the fabric, and it's quite fine what I'm doing. And I'm going to come away from that, a little bit of a squiggle down, stop, up around that one, little squiggle to this one, again, up and around, little squiggle there, until I get to that pair of scissors. Oh, I'm going to go backwards now. I go backwards around those scissors. Down. Back up to where I left off. What have I got left to do? 2 buttons. So I'm just going to do some little squiggles, and then perhaps I've got to give myself opportunity to get back out. Yeah, I do like to do it faster rather than so slower. Alright, so I've arrived at that one. Around there. Thank you. And come off with my squiggle again. And I'm just looking, yeah, I need to go a little bit into this. Before I go around that button. And then back out. Now, done it. I've already done those scissors, so I'm coming around, bit of a squiggle to give it a laugh, and to my outside stitch. So I'm just going to check it now. Have I missed anything? I've done that. No, I don't think I've missed anything. Does anything look like it doesn't have a squiggle? Well, maybe that bit there, but you know, at the end of the day. Right, so I've cut the fabric now, cut the line. So I did that all in a continuous line, no breaks. I've just bought this hot foot back from the sewing machine, and you can see what I did. I first of all went round, all the way around the edge, and then I started to do my pre-motion quilting. And I've used a variegated thread, so there are greens and reds and yellows and blues on it, which I felt was quite a nice thing to do on here. If I'd have just used, say, beige, it wouldn't be as prominent as this is. And when I get an opportunity to use variegated thread, I do like it. And if I can just, I'm wondering how I can show you that it's now, how can I show you? I don't think I can really. If I bring it up to you, will it help? But those items now are stood out from the quilt. They've got, you know, they now look a bit 3D because I've been round every one of them, so they're now a bit stood out. They're not flat, they're now 3D. Okay, and there's the back. Started there, finished there, all in one go. Lovely. Alright then, the next stage. Now, I measured this once before, but I think I'll just do it again so that I double check myself. So I want the end of the tape to be more, well, within a fraction of the edge of my book, yeah? It's got to have a little bit of give. And then I'm folding around, yeah? And I'm saying, well, given that, if I'm going all the way around, 13.5 inches should do it, yeah? Alright, I can see where my tape is still there. Look around the book, 13.5 inches will do it. But remember, we've got a 1/4 inch seam here and a 1/4 inch seam there. So 13.5 is now turned into 14, okay? Right, with an accurate 1/4 inch seam. And then from top to bottom, again I'm just going slightly over to the bottom. It's more than 8.5, so for comfort I'll say 8 3/4, 8 3/4 plus 1/2 inch, that's 9 1/4 top to bottom. Okay, you can use the 2 ruler method, and the reason why we do this is that once you've quilted the top will shrink. You know, this started off as an immaculate 15 inches, right? Look at that now, it's not. Now it's 14.5 inches. Good job, isn't it, really? So you see what I mean? And it started off at 10 inches, isn't it? And now it's just under 9 3/4 inches. So when you do quilt something, it will shrink. So we always do it on oversized pieces so that we know at the end of the day we've got an accurate cut once we're ready to use it as a template. Now, let's pretend we got a really good book cover, and there are certain things that we need to do. One of the things we need to do on the front, because this is the actual size now, bar the 1/4 inch all the way around. So taking that into account, we can say, well, hello, that needs to, take a judgment, turn it, cut it, do it in half, although an awful lot of it goes around the spine. So put it in half so you know, right, that's kind of my book front. So my notes, I will just put, I think would look nice. Well, remembering that 1/4 inch would look nice approximately there. Okay? So I'm temporarily going to put a pin in it. So that's where I want that to be. Then the next thing that we need to go on the front, I'm going to put another couple of things. I want to put a little pen holder here, which I'm just going to go off and show you how to do. And there, if you want to, you could put a Velcro tab on it. And also, if you want to, you could do something here that's got your initials. You don't have to do your initials like this. You could print it out and do it like this, or I'm going to do mine in a slightly different way, but you could certainly print yourself out another little label with your initials on it. Or if you are into paper making or t-shirt printing, then obviously you could take a bit of material and you could hot transfer vinyl your initials on it. Okay, so it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to sew mine, but you know, there are lots of different ways in which you can work. So right, so for the pen holder, I've cut a piece of fabric that is 8.5 inches by what did I say it was in the end? Can't remember now. Oh, for God's sake, girl. By by 1 3/4 wide. Okay, so then I'm going to fold it in half. That will be the top. I am going to press in 1/4 inch at the bottom and the sides. Alright, pressing this in, yeah, and then that, when it's done, I will do an 1/8 of an inch stitch all the way around and attach it to the front of my case wherever I feel is right. Now I've just brought this back now from the sewing machine. There's my pen holder, and there's my notes to self, which I've done in a blanket stitch. Alright, I will link, I have got a video showing you how to do lots of different applique stitches, which I will link to this one, okay? But if you fancied it, as this is a turned under applique, if you fancied it, you could use one of your lovely machine heirloom stitches and go round with that, just making sure that you keep it nicely, that it's half over the edge to make sure that it gets sewn through and holds down your label. Okay, so what's my next thing now? I was thinking of doing a round in a similar way to that and putting my initial on it, but do you know what, I think I'm detracting from the fabric now because I'm putting too much on it. And also I'm not going to do a tab with Velcro on. If I was though, I would turn it over and it'll have to come from the back, so I would I don't know, I would probably make it 1.5 inches wide, yeah? So say this was a tab, I'd have it from the end to, I don't know, about 7 centimetres, well what's that in English? 3 inches, yeah? And I would sew it, I would, once I've made it 1.5 inches wide, I'd double over a bit of fabric like this, double it over, yeah? Sew a bit of Velcro to one end. The rough end I would then put here, in the, well, find out where the middle is, yeah? 3 inches, and pin it so that it gets caught up in the end in our seam, so that when we do turn everything out the right way, obviously it's going to come round from the back. So it'd be like that, which would then, when our book was shut, would come over our 3 inches, and we would put a corresponding bit of Velcro there to shut it up. Okay, right, I'm not going to do it. This is, you know, mine is a hard cover book, doesn't need a patch on it, so I don't think I'm going to do anymore. So the next thing we need to do is think about the interleaves that are going to hug around the inside of the book to create the cover. And after we've done that, I'll show you how to do the lining. So now we have our flat pieces, which are 8 inches by, I can't remember what length of it is, it's, you know, it's in the thing. And what we need to do is just fold those in half, both of them, so that the nice inside fold is going to be facing inwards. So from, well, we can go, let me see, I'll get a ruler. If we take a friction pen, one that we can iron out, yeah, and make a mark, I would suggest to you that we come in from that outside about, got a quarter inch, about 3.5 inches. So if you want to make a mark on your fabric, 3.5. This is not doing well on my fabric because it's actually really upholstery fabric. So I'm just going to do that again and come in at 3.5 inches. So I'm using chalk now, and down the bottom 3.5 inches. So we know where we are. Yeah. And again, the same the other side. 3.5 inches long and 3.5 inches there. It's right on the end of that tape measure. Right, okay, so these are 4 inches. They're still with the nice side looking at you. If you line those up with those marks that we've just made, right, and then pin it nice and straight, pin it, and with a fabric like mine it might be best to go and iron it first, but anyway, so bring them in. We will be cutting off all this excess, so just pin that to the mark on that. As I say, right sides folded in half, right sides outside, and pin that. Okay, so that's ready to go. And then the next thing we need to do is the lining. Now if we again from the outside of the and come in 3.5 was that mark. So if we come in 3 inches, yeah, and I'm just tentatively making a mark because that's where I want it. So it's going to be under the flap. Alright, so if I come in, yeah, I'd say 1/2 inch inside, yeah. So if I come in 3 inches, make a mark, and I come in 3 inches from this side, 3 inches from this end, and make a mark. Okay, so it's going to be under, eventually it'll be underneath. Then if I measure between the two inside marks, that's actually 8 inches wide. Well done, Jan. And actually 8 inches wide. So we need to cut a piece of fabric because we want to turn it under and give it an edge, finish the edges. So we want a piece that's 8.5 inches wide and again we can do it more because we can cut it off at the end. I would say to do it 10 inches. So we want a piece 8.5 by 10 of whatever you want your lining fabric to be. Right, so we've got all that set together, and then I've actually done my, I thought I'd do a bit of coral. I thought it was quite nice, go with whatever. Anyway, I made mine a bit slim, okay,
But it should be, the thing is, I make these things before I think about it. What did I say that was? Can't remember now. 8.5 inches, I think I said. So from the inside mark that we made, 3 inches from the outside, to that one, it was 8 inches. But then you needed half, and you see I'm only on 7.5. It should be 8.5 inches and a half, a quarter of an inch turned under each side. I seem to have cut mine a bit short, but it's still enough for me. I know mine will work, but to be absolutely sure, please do it to that measurement. So then, with it placed, because it's far too long, but with it placed face down, okay, on top of your, and try and sort of like make sure it's in the middle for diddles. Alright, all the way up, and just pin that then. Yeah. So we're just gonna, yep, pin that to the, still on the front side looking at you. Alright, let's just pin that. And then I'm going to move that pin that's right near the end. Alright. So then we can turn the whole thing over with everything pinned. Alright. And we know that this one, that this side where we did our quilt stitching the batting to the front, this is the correct size. So what we need to do now, and this time we really need to do a proper 1/4 inch seam, alright? So use your 1/4 inch foot, alright? And we're going to sew making sure that that lining is on the last, you know, the thing closest to the table, alright? And we're going to now sew a 1/4 inch all the way around the outside, and I'll come back. Little thing before we go, if you want to do a bookmarker for your book, right, have a look at your book and say, what, you know, I have to fold it under, come down here, and I want maybe that much and a bit much for a turn under, so I think that would be about where I wanted to go. Yay. So now I know we've already pinned this on, and remember this is the left hand side is the back of the book, yeah? So before we want it to fold, we want it to come down that way, don't we? So yeah, so I want to put it, I want to just what should I do? I think I'll just tape that for a minute, because that'll get caught up in our oh my god, I think that's the outside. Which way do I want to do it? No, I want to put it, I want my sparklies face down so that it comes out that way. Right. So I want to go about there, and I want it to, it can just stick up above that. So I'm just going to, oh, my nail, my bloody nail wants to come off now. I'm just going to take that there. Okay, I think I'm going to put a button on the end of there, but I'll do it in a minute. And then obviously I just want that to be inside while the rest of it gets sewn. So now I can put, yeah, I think I've done that right. If not, we'll know, won't we? So I'm just going to take that back together. Right, so I've got a bookmarker in there now as well. And we're going to, as I say, flip it to this side and do our 1/4 inch all the way around. Okay then, so fresh back from the sewing machine. Now I sewed it from this way, as you can see. I also I use what you call a bean stitch. When you look at your machine, you'll see there's like 3 lines coming down, and they call it a bean stitch. And that is like a really firm stitch, much firmer than a single run. It's like a triple run, really. Okay, and people do refer to it as a bean stitch. So I would suggest you will use that one, because we're going through quite a few layers as we go. Please remember, I hope I have, yeah I have, that the pink is always got to be on the bottom underneath everything. Oh, not the pink, but the lining, yeah. So we're ready now to take the pins out. You've lost the computer. Right, and then the next thing we want to do, because this material that I'm using, it really frays badly, yeah, I'm going to use pinking shears, but you could just use ordinary shears, yeah. So I'm going to do roughly, well, that's a large, isn't it, but about 1/4 inch away from my stitching line. And I will cross my corners without cutting my stitching, yeah. Reason why, because my material frays very easily, it's almost linen like, when you use pinking shears, it does prevent that fraying a little bit. Okay, it's not like a straight line that just wants to keep running. With this, if it does fray, it just fray the very edges in tiny little bits, so it does help you. Okay, last one. So let's got rid of all that rubbish. There's our book cover done. A bit squishy around there, but never mind. So what do? Well, we need to turn it all inside out, don't we? So we literally, I'm turning the pink around to the front and everything through. Alright, so there now is, obviously need to give it an iron in a minute, but there is our lining. And then from the outsides we can turn through our gently Bentley. I'll come back to this in a minute, but we can turn through our pockets, alright, which now should sit over the top of our lining, and this one. So all we've done really is sew round a square, and yet, because of the clever way we've layered it, we've now got a book cover with one square of stitching other than what we put on the front. Well, other than our other bits, you know, other than our, well, I need to go and press this now. So, yeah, so now that is my, oh, I wondered why it was a bit short. Of course, I taped it, didn't I, to keep it out of the way. I thought, why is that short? Right, so there is our bookmark, which I think I'm going to put a button on the end of. So I need to go and press this, as I say, and tease out the corners, you know, tease out all the nice corners, and then fit it onto my book. You may have noticed I changed my pen holder because at the end of the day I really didn't like the green, so I went back and I did an heirloom stitch around it. So let me go and give this a press now. Okay, so I finished it. I've plopped the back in there, and then you have to kind of pivot it on itself to get the front in. All you can see of the lining is that, really. So that's fine, yeah. The bookmark, if I open my book, my bookmark is coming down, and I sewed a heart-shaped button, turned it under and sewed a heart-shaped button on it. So that's my bookmark, and it's just long enough to come past the book, but not too long that if I put the book on the shelf it will fold up so that the book can go into a shelf. Alright, so it's not too short, not too long. Yeah, I'm really pleased with mine. Oh, you may have noticed along the line I did change my pen bit, because the green I originally used, I had a chat with myself and thought no, wasn't nice, so I did an heirloom stitch around the same materials I've used for the inside pocket. But there we go, so there's a covered notebook.